I was supposed to talk about UFO sightings in the Philippines, but I told Tony and Ray, I'm not really the authority here on the Philippines. It's actually Bernie Sigera, whom I don't know where he is now. It's Colonel Sigera, who documented many of the sightings in the Philippines for about 10 years, from 20 years, from 1970 to 1990 or before, 10 years, 1970 to 1980. He documented many of these with names and also details when it happened, how many saw it, what was really seen, and fully documented. He wrote it in a book called Pacifist, which is not available now. It was never available even before. It was just handed to friends. It was never sold in the bookstores. I don't even know, looking for a copy of this when I was invited to speak here. I was looking for my copy and it disappeared together with the UFOs. I was taken by the UFO. I couldn't find my copy anymore of that book. And I don't know what happened to Colonel Sigera, whether he's still here or abroad. The last time I saw him was in San Francisco, many years ago, more than 10 years ago. So it would have been ideal to talk about it. My local experiences in UFO sightings are really limited to several occasions. I will just relate to you very briefly. Several was in Mount Panahaw, where we saw flying objects for several minutes, lasted for about 15 minutes, visible to everybody in the skies of Mount Panahaw. They were just balls of light that were swirling and moving in very fast direction and not really moving with stationary in one place, but moving within that particular space and such speed that could not be attributed to any Earth aircraft. That's one. We have seen it many times in Mount Panahaw. The other one I experienced is in Pila, Laguna, together with about 800 to 1,000 people, including Elvira Manahan, Delanes Torre, Maria Montalibano, and many others, and some flight attendants from the Philippine Airlines. And this was a group that was also called by Dr. Bernie Sigera. They would appear. Exactly the time he said they would appear. There were three very fast-moving lights coming from our left to the right. I can't remember the direction, whether south or north or west to back. But they were moving fast, one after the other. And I asked the flight attendant beside me, do you think that's an airplane? And she said, no. Why do you say so? I said, and she said, because an airplane with a blinking lights, there's no blinking light. Number two, there is no sound. Number three, it's moving too fast for an airplane. So these were the reason that she gave me, and I think she was very logical. So I said, okay, so that's not an airplane. There were three of them. And I think there were 15 that much that I could see, but I didn't see the others. I saw only the three. So that was the second time I saw flying objects in the sky. I can't explain. And then the third was outside my window in Paranaque, about 4 o'clock in the morning. I went to go to the CR, and somehow I looked out of the window, and I saw a light. At first I did not bother about it, but then there was something quite unusual about it because it was stationary. And then I looked, and it was moving. So I tried to get my binoculars, which is near the window. And when I picked it up to look, it disappeared. But it could not have disappeared that fast because, I could see from a very wide angle. So it was quite strange that it just disappeared. But when I tried to look at it more closely, they seem to be able to know when you are looking at them. So those are my three experiences about sightings, my personal experiences. There is one experience I had, which is, I don't normally talk about this, but I think in a group like this, maybe I can reveal it, because it is so strange that I don't think people will believe me. That there is somebody here who will who will confirm this experience. This happened in Ciudad Verdadero, and the Supremo is here at Catakis, very quietly. Ciudad Verdadero is a mystical place in Sampaloc, Lupon border, which has two mysterious boulders. I have been there several times and experienced some interesting things about the energy of the place. But there was one time there were about 15 or 20 of us who were there, and there is a boulder that's very mysterious. If you put your hand on the boulder, it seems to be alive. So I have done that several times, nothing happened. But that particular time, when I placed my hand on this boulder, which is about 7 or 8 feet long, and about maybe 5 feet in the height, and about 4 feet in depth. It's a boulder, a stone, big stone. When I held it, I went into trance, and I was inside. Not physically, of course, my physical body was outside, but I was inside in my astral body, and I saw a being. It's a humanoid figure of an ET, the usual thing that you see, with big eyes, a small nose, small mouth, and looks feminine. She had gray color, rubbery, the skin looks like rubber, green, no hair, flat on chest, and she was, her two hands were on top, like she was floating. And there were two creatures up there, and then two creatures down. So there were 4 other small creatures. And then she welcomed me there mentally and said, "I'm sorry, but I cannot take you down." See, underneath, I could see only up to the torso, and underneath it was very dark. And I wanted to go down there, and she stopped me from doing that. And she said that I cannot take you down here. I will do that in your next visit. So I was not allowed. So I thanked her, and then I got out of trance. That time, during that time, I did not tell anybody about it because I thought I was just imagining things. But somehow, I mentioned it to somebody when we were eating lunch. And then another person who was in the group said, "Oh, I saw the same thing." And this person was a healer, very sensitive. And he described exactly the same thing that I saw. Therefore, I said, so it's not my imagination. I was quite worried about this. I'm very careful about talking about these things that cannot be seen because it might be just hallucination and all that. But there was somebody who confirmed what I saw. And then I said, "What happened?" "Well, she took me down under it was very deep," I said, several 100 feet below. And I said, "So what was there under the stone?" And he said, "It is a laboratory, and they were doing experiments." So we go, "What experiments?" "I don't know, but I was not allowed to stay too long." And then he went out already. So these are actual encounters we had with an extraterrestrial. And I never thought I would have such an experience. I've only been reading about them, but never thought that I would experience this personally. I've been looking forward to the time when I would be allowed to go down. So that's one thing that I would like to do in the future. When I talked to Roy Alvarez about this, he said, well, even before I told him what was there, he said, "That's a laboratory underneath." And I said, "How did you know?" He said, "I know." And they told me. So several people already have seen this happen. So it's not something that I can say was just imagination on my part, something that can be confirmed. And Art here, who is here, can tell you more about this later on. So I'll talk to him. That's the guy in the red shirt, very quiet. He is the owner of Ciudad Verdadero, and if you want to go there, you have to ask permission from him. But he doesn't charge anything, so it's free of charge. Okay, so that was only my experience about ETs in the Philippines.